News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. It's been 3 years of questions and investigations. Today, Montreal police announced criminal charges in the fire in Old Montreal that killed 7 people. The owner of the building was arrested this morning. He faces 7 charges of manslaughter and 8 charges of criminal negligence. Here's Matt Gilmore.
It's been 3 years and 2 days since a major fire tore through the historic Place Duville building in Old Montreal. 7 people were killed. Their images remain on the boarded up front door of what's left of the building.
The date of March 16th, 2023 will forever remain in our collective memory.
But after years of waiting, finally the prospect of justice for the families. On Wednesday, the building's owner, Émile Benamor, was arrested. He's been charged with 7 counts of manslaughter and 8 counts of criminal negligence causing bodily harm.
We are aware that they've been waiting for answers for a very long time. We hope that this development will, to some extent, alleviate their suffering.
Camille Maheu, a renowned photographer, was the first victim identified in the days following the fire. Her friend, Geneviève Letarte, says the charges are a relief.
I was very surprised and happy, if I can say it that way, that those crimes will be, I hope, condemned.
At the Montreal courthouse, Benamor was formally charged via video conference. Prosecutors say after 3 years of investigating, they believe they have a solid case.
And we need to make sure we have a complete file with all of the evidence, and in this case, the efforts and the resources the DPCP allowed on this case allowed to make sure we have a reasonable conviction.
Benamor's lawyer says the arrest came as a shock.
3 years after, it's a surprise because it's 3 years after.
Benamor has been granted bail. One of the conditions is he has to properly maintain all of his properties up to fire code. This is not the only deadly fire in one of his buildings. A mother and her daughter were killed in 2024 when his building on Notre Dame in the Old Port also went up in flames. Police say today's charges are related to Benamor's mismanagement of the building. He is not being accused of setting the fire or ordering an arson.
It's really related to the state of the building and the management of the building, having an impact on the spread and the deaths.
The charges laid today represent the conclusion of one of 2 criminal investigations into the 2023 fire. The other, into who actually set the fire, is still ongoing. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Trudeau Airport had to limit the number of flights incoming into the airport for a couple of hours this afternoon. The Montreal Airport Authority says it's because a suspicious package was found on an incoming flight. Now, police found nothing. They say now that all is back to normal, though there might be some delays. Well, Quebec's finance minister tabled his budget today.
C'est un budget responsable, centré sur les priorités des Québécois.
The budget comes almost a month before the CAQ chooses its new party leader and premier and looks ahead to Election Day in October. The budget is being called restrained, targeted, and responsible. And here are some of the highlights. The total spending in this budget is $170 billion. It's got a projected deficit of $8.6 billion. And the government is projecting a balanced budget by the year 2029-2030. Now, Matt, you've been going through all the documents today. The finance minister says there's a lot going on in the world, so it was complicated.
Yes, because we know it's not just about what's going on here in Quebec. Geopolitical tensions and war have an impact on the economy, and of course that can affect the budget. Trade tensions with the U.S. is something that was also mentioned in this budget. And another factor to be considered, Quebec will have a new premier next month.
It's François Legault's final budget, and the premier says the house is in order. Quebec says this budget is about sound and prudent management of public finances. After historic deficits in previous years, Quebec says the budget deficit sits at $8.6 billion. With geopolitical tensions, a trade dispute, and a new premier on the way, Finance Minister Éric Girard says putting this budget together was not easy.
Every budget is a major headache. This one had additional complexities in terms of timing and the leadership race.
Quebec will invest $1.7 billion over 5 years to help businesses adapt to a new economic climate. There will be $2.2 billion in new spending over 5 years to facilitate access to health and social services, strengthen frontline healthcare access, and shorten surgical wait lists.
We're increasing infrastructure. We're increasing the funding for the specific mission of the state. We're helping Quebecers, businesses, and we're improving public finance.
To help with cost of living, Quebec is converting 5,000 additional non-subsidized childcare spaces into subsidized spots. And the school tax increase will be capped at 3%. But the Liberals say it's not enough.
There's really nothing in this budget to deal with the rising cost of living, and this is probably the #1 issue you hear from Quebecers on a day-to-day basis.
The PQ says this budget could be meaningless in a few weeks.
When you hear what Bernard Drinville and Christine Fréchette are saying and are promising on a daily basis in this leadership race, and when you compare it to the actual budget that was presented to us, there is absolutely no link. It's totally not coherent.
In less than a month, Quebec will have a new premier, and Girard says $250 million per year has been set aside for either Bernard Drinville or Christine Fréchette if they wish to spend it when they take office. Matt Grillo, CTV News, Quebec City.
The finance minister tried to lower expectations going into this budget, but many people were left disappointed anyway. Here's Sweeta Rassi with reaction.
Lack of vision, lack of ambition.
Magali Picard is with the FTQ, Quebec's largest federation of workers. She says given the rising cost of living, there's a lack of supports for Quebecers in this year's budget.
We need the government to understand our needs, and unfortunately, we don't have any answer today.
The province is building 1,000 affordable homes over the next 3 years, a drop in the bucket, according to one housing advocate who is hoping for more.
10,000. It was our ask.
While Quebec is spending hundreds of millions of dollars in the next 5 years on the business sector, some of the province's business groups say they wanted to see concrete measures.
Reduce red tape, reduce regulatory issues, but also reduce the tax burden so that we can decide to invest where we need to invest, give them more air.
Our economic data are showing that the business confidence is at a lowest level we ever saw in 15 years.
And manufacturers and exporters of Quebec says this budget has some blind spots.
There's help for the lumber sector, but not for steel, aluminum, kitchen cabinets, and that's something that we would have wanted to see.
Finance Minister Éric Girard says stability was the focus, with a goal to balance the books by 2029 and 2030. But the Montreal Economic Institute says that might not happen.
It's not credible at all. It is banking on $2 billion of a gap to be bridged for which it has no idea how it's going to do it.
Given the global economic uncertainty, Girard insists he made the right choices for Quebecers. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News, Quebec City.
Renaud Brosson is with the Montreal Economic Institute, and he joins us from Quebec City. Hi, Renaud.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So, Renaud, the finance minister called his budget restrained, targeted, responsible. Is it, do you think?
There's nothing responsible about adding another $8.6 billion in our collective credit card. And look, I understand the finance minister and why he wants to frame this as responsible. If we look at this budget alone, the spending increase is not that high. The problem is this comes after 7 budgets in which this government went into a spending spree. And this is why we're adding so much money on our collective credit card, on our debt this year, despite the fact that there's not a lot of new announcements.
So he is projecting a balanced budget, though, in the year 2029-2030. Do you think that's realistic?
Based on the assumptions we see there, I don't even think the finance minister thinks it's realistic. Look, he presented this plan to get the budget back to balance by 2029-2030, but he kept what he calls a $2 billion gap to be bridged in that budget. So that means by 2029-2030, if the government of Quebec magically finds $2 billion, the budget is going to be balanced. I get it. It's easier to balance a budget if you can just pull numbers out of a hat. It doesn't make that a credible plan. It doesn't make that a realistic plan. And this is the second budget in a row where we have such an important gap to be bridged and still no solutions from the finance minister or the Legault government.
Now, it looks like the Quebec government is putting a lot of focus on investing in infrastructure, $2 billion more in the coming years. A lot of people seem to be questioning that, and you don't think the money is going to be enough.
It's not just that I don't think the money is going to be enough. When we look at the numbers, the government of Quebec calculates what it calls the asset maintenance deficit. That means the total amount of money that would have to be spent to bring our infrastructure, be they roads, hospitals, schools, any government property, back up to par. Now, despite the increase in spending, the amount that is in that asset maintenance deficit went up by 12%. And basically what it shows is that the amount of money we're spending is not growing as fast as the needs to spend money to put that infrastructure back up to par. And I think that's something that a lot of people have noticed. You know, when you go to the hospital, you see that a lot of our hospitals are in a poor state. When we look at our schools are in a relatively poor state as well. And the state of our roads, I think there's been enough articles about this in the last couple of months to show that no, there's a clear disconnect between the new spending or the amount that's needed to finally fix our infrastructure.
You know, Renaud, you don't seem to have a lot of positive things to say about this budget. I mean, overall, how would you rate it?
Look, I think I'd rate this budget as a C-. I think it's good that the minister did show some restraint in terms of new spending. The problem is that, again, this comes after 7 budgets where the government went on a spending spree. So if I have to rate this budget, I'd give it a C-. But if I have to rate the Legault government's financial performance over the last 8 years, we'd be closer to a D-.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Renaud. And we will have more on the budget later in the newscast with political analyst David Hurtel. There was a guilty verdict today for a Laval man who drowned his 2 children. Kamaljit Arora has been found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. He drowned his 13-year-old daughter and 11-year-old son in their home in October of 2022. Arora admitted to causing their deaths, but he claimed he had no memory of doing it. Prosecutors argued the deaths were planned. The first-degree murder conviction comes with an automatic life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. And a judge has granted an injunction that will prevent 2 Quebec men from donating sperm. Philippe Normand and Dominique Silos are father and son. Together, they have fathered hundreds of children. The case was brought by one of the mothers. Her lawyer argued the women were not fully informed on how many children had been fathered by these 2 men. Normand had previously said if the injunction was granted, he would just move to another province where he could continue to donate sperm. And coming up, the war and the inflation rate.
Normally, I think people would be thinking, well, you know, Canada needs some interest rate relief here. But once Mr. Trump started firing guns off in the Middle East, we knew that wasn't going to happen.
So for now, the Bank of Canada is holding its interest rate steady. And another senior official is killed, and Iran fires back against Israel.
Lies, trapping Canadians.
She's a 19-year-old girl.
W5 uncovers a crime syndicate, hunting for traffickers.
They just asked me to find people for them?
Watch W5, Saturday at 7 on CTV and Crave.
The Bank of Canada held its key interest rate steady today. The war in the Middle East has already had a major effect on the global economy. The rising price of oil is raising the cost of just about everything. Annie Bergeron-Oliver reports.
It didn't take long for the war in Iran to boost the price at the pumps and kickstart an energy-driven consumer squeeze the Bank of Canada says is fueling inflation.
The issue for us is not really the immediate increase in inflation. We know that's going to happen. It's does that start to get generalized, start to spread, start to look more persistent.
The bank says it will work to make sure that doesn't happen, but warns the longer the war goes on, the wider the impacts on the economy that right now is weaker than the bank projected. Growth is slower, the job market is soft, and exports are lower than expected.
Normally, I think people would be thinking, Canada needs some interest rate relief here. But once Mr. Trump started firing guns off in the Middle East, we knew that wasn't going to happen.
For now, the bank says the economy is being tugged in different directions by rising inflation and slowing growth. So it's taking a wait-and-see approach and holding steady at 2.25%.
Economic weakness combined with rising inflation is a dilemma for central banks. Increasing interest rates to slow inflation could further weaken the economy.
Economists say that decision makes sense, but they also warn global uncertainty will likely hurt consumers.
There's a lot of anxiety that's building about the anticipated inflation, and retailers are already going to be hiking their prices as they expect their costs to increase as these higher energy prices work their way through the supply chain.
The bank says it will be keeping a close eye not only on the war in Iran, but on the impact tariffs and U.S. trade are having on the Canadian economy. And if necessary, Tiff Macklem says the bank will act. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
2 Quebec-based ships are among the growing number of cargo ships stopped at the Strait of Hormuz. And as they wait, the fighting in the region is intensifying. Here's Heather Wright.
Overnight, Iran retaliated for the killing of its security chief, firing cluster warheads at central Israel, payloads that are harder to intercept as they disperse midair. Israeli officials say the attack killed 2 people and caused damage in multiple areas. Dubai was also attacked overnight and this morning, with alarms going off throughout the city. Officials here say the drones and missiles were all successfully intercepted. Speaking to British lawmakers, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says more than 200 military experts from Ukraine have been sent to the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, sharing their expertise in fighting a drone war, something Ukraine has pioneered during its 4-year fight with Russia.
We do not want this terror of the Iranian regime against its neighbors to succeed.
The United States and Israel continued their campaign against Iran today. U.S. Central Command says it dropped bunker-busting bombs on Iranian sites near the Strait of Hormuz, while oil sites linked to Iran were reportedly hit by Israel. Iran also confirmed its intelligence minister was killed. The regime has vowed to respond by attacking energy sites in the Gulf, warning people to stay away from facilities in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. It's all leading to rising oil prices and uncertainty to how this conflict ends.
It's important to point out that once a war starts, you really can't control the direction it's going to go in.
Retired Major General Dennis Thompson says over the past 2.5 weeks, there has been a steady escalation of this conflict, which he believes has not reached its peak. He says the U.S. could still choose to hit Karg Island, where 90% of Iran's oil exports are shipped from, while Iran could go after desalination plants in the Gulf, cutting off a key source of fresh water.
I'm not convinced that there is a military solution to this, and they have to go the diplomatic route. If you keep killing the Iranian leadership, who are you going to negotiate with?
While Iran has allowed a few ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, the shipping route effectively remains closed. The UAE has said it is open to joining a U.S.-led effort to reopen the strait, but at this point, there is still no plan in place. Heather Wright, CTV News, Dubai.
Israeli airstrikes have been targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon. Today, Israeli forces leveled a 10-story apartment building in Beirut. Rachel Aiello has more on that.
A multi-story apartment in central Beirut decimated. The Israeli military claimed the building was being used by the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. Targeting 4 buildings in 8 hours, Israel stepped up airstrikes in Lebanon on Wednesday. Lebanese officials say at least 10 people were killed. It's just pain. They don't have targets anymore, this man says. Strikes also damaged bridges and a gas station in southern Lebanon. Since March 2nd, according to Lebanon's health ministry, more than 900 people have been killed, thousands injured, and another 1 million displaced.
Children and families who have fled their homes with barely nothing, who are sleeping on the street for a couple of days until they figure out where to go.
Canadian Ahmed Araji has been in Lebanon assisting with humanitarian efforts. Last week, he told CTV News he wanted to stay, but he's now changed his mind after having to flee his hotel due to nearby explosions.
But I never imagined in my life that I would have to flee an area, escape an area because my life was in danger. So going through that made me realize that maybe I need to pack my bags and go back home.
This week, Canada joined European allies expressing grave concerns about the escalating violence.
The humanitarian situation is worsening.
While condemning Hezbollah, world leaders are calling for a political solution.
Here's a chance, I think, for Canada to really show its diplomatic leverage.
The federal government has recently promised $37 million in humanitarian aid for civilians in Lebanon. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Cuba has finally got some power back. Its countrywide blackout lasted about 30 hours. Cuba's power grid collapsed on Monday, and not for the first time. Power is slowly being restored to the capital, Havana, but much of the island is still in the dark. Cuba has been the target of an American oil blockade that began in January. Meanwhile, 2 Canadian airlines have extended their suspensions of flights to Cuba. WestJet says most flights to Cuba are cancelled through October. Air Transat is now saying it will plan to resume its flights in June. Refunds are available to the passengers who are affected. And a freight train derailed this morning, cutting commuter service on a section of the Vaudreuil-Hudson line. 2 empty freight cars left the tracks near the Dorion station. There'll be no rail service between the Vaudreuil and Baie-d'Urfé stations until the tracks can be cleared. Service between Lucien Lallier and Baie-d'Urfé is running as usual. And coming up, it's been 32 years.
Suzuki waits, shoots, tipped up, score! Downfield!
The Canadians finally have another 40-goal scorer. And it was not just a baseball game for Team Venezuela. Today's budget was the 8th tabled by Éric Girard, and most likely his last. Matt Grillo spoke to the finance minister earlier today.
Joining us now is Quebec Finance Minister Éric Girard. Thank you for doing this.
It's a pleasure.
Budget day, lots of big numbers, lots of numbers. What is in it for Quebecers, and what should they take away from this budget?
Quebecers should take away that we're increasing infrastructure spending by $5 billion, that we're doing an additional effort in terms of maintaining our infrastructure. There was requests from the civil society to do more in maintenance. We're doing that. Also, the specific mission of the state, healthcare, education, justice, public securities are adequately funded. And then there's some targeted measure for homelessness, food banks, domestic violence, increasing the number of housing. So there's targeted measure, infrastructure, and then the main mission of the states. Also, let me add, there's also a general improvement in public finance. The public finance, we've reduced the deficit for 24-25, 25-6, 26-7. Overall, the public finance of Quebec are improving.
A lot is made of the deficit. A lot of people talk about it. Some people are concerned. Some people are very concerned. But in the budget, you seem confident in Quebec's economy and in Quebec's public finances. Why is that?
The deficit for this year is sub 1% of GDP. It's like 0.9%. If you compare us to the average of Canadian provinces, it's 1.7%. If you compare us to the federal government, 2.4%. France is at 5%. UK 6%. The US 7%. Quebec is managing its public finance in an orderly manner because we have 2 very important laws, the Budget Equilibrium Act, the Generation Fund and Debt Reduction Act. These 2 laws are guiding us toward a path of sound public finance, budget balance, and really the debt level and the deficit are under control.
I'd like to know how concerned you are about the war in the Middle East and specifically what are you thinking in terms of the potential impact on the Quebec's economy in the months ahead?
Well, I'm very concerned about the war. War never generate peace dividend, and so if the war is temporary and does not spread to the whole Middle East, then we will go through the shock and we will be okay. But if the high prices for gasoline and oil and gas prices stay high and it persist, then we could have a result as bad as a world recession as we reach different thresholds. So it's very important that the conflict is limited in time and scope.
And the estimation is that it would be a 6-week length?
Well, that's what we've included in our economic forecast. So if the length is more, then there will be less growth. And if prices are higher, there will be more inflation. We call this a supply shock. More inflation, less growth. There's nothing good about that.
Éric Girard, thank you so much for your time today.
Merci beaucoup.
And David Hurtel joins us now. Hi, David.
Hi, Mitsumi.
So, David, you've taken a look at this budget, and now you think you know why this budget was tabled before the new leader was chosen.
And we just heard the finance minister repeating over and over, talking about fiscal responsibility and keeping the finances in order. The lack of vision, the lack of courage in this budget shows, I think, how much the government is hamstrung financially. And with the last years of record deficits, I think what you're hearing from Éric Girard in this budget is that the number one priority was to try to keep Quebec's credit rating where it is. We saw the negative impacts of having lowered in the past years, how humiliating it was, but also there's a real financial cost to it. I think that's the problem. Our finances are so much in trouble right now, Mitsumi, that I think that was the guiding principle for keeping control over this budget, because with a new premier trying to get elected, you could lose control very quickly.
A lot of numbers and promises thrown around, but do you think this budget is going to fix Quebec's main problems?
No, not at all. When you look at the macro problems, the aging of the population, the tsunami that we're starting to feel the effects of as we speak. You're looking also as well as we're going to need immigration, economically speaking, and how to best integrate it into our economy. The impact of AI on our jobs. Also, we're looking at the tariffs, the impacts of the tariffs. Look, the federal government is trying to transform the Canadian economy. There's a lot of things Quebec could be doing right now with a budget to lower our reliance on the U.S. towards talking about our exports. Same thing with the fact that with this oil shock, we don't even factor this in yet. And the finance minister is not factoring this in yet. So we're not tackling the structural issues that are really affecting Quebec's finances and preventing us from really doing some massive changes that are direly needed.
Now, the other political parties are going to be going through this budget very carefully. What do you think they should be doing now?
Well, the problem is that year one of either Possetta Plamondon's government, Charles Millard's government, or even Éric Dierem's government, who knows, they're going to be completely hamstrung. They won't be able to deliver on any type of major promises, and they're going to have to propose something. It's very nice to criticize, and there's a lot of criticism to go around. But now, what would you do to tackle these major missions that are not being answered by this CEQ budget? And so the year one budget of the next government is going to be very, very difficult. So watch out with these, rainbow type promises that are promising everything under the sun. It won't happen.
So at the end of the day, David, you think this is more of a François Legault budget than an Éric Girard budget?
Totally François Legault's budget. You're talking about a former economic development minister, former health minister, former education minister, premier for the last 8 years. There's a signature on this budget. He wanted to control everything. He's leaving nothing for the future. A cynical $1 billion reserve fund for the next premier to promise things that will never come to pass. In a word, I think this is cowardly. He had a shot because he's not going for re-election. He had a shot to really transform and start moving things structurally to make Quebec more resilient for the future, and he completely missed the shot here.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, David.
Take care, Matsumi.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for limited time.
Well, with the spring equinox only days away, Mother Nature is giving us one last dose of winter, and we see that in today's daytime high. When we should really be above zero at 3 degrees, we were dealing with -5 today, and it certainly was cold. It felt like -13 at times with the wind chill, but our sunrise and sunset times are almost 12 hours apart, meaning we're seeing more daylight, and that means spring is just around the corner. But first we have to deal with a little more snow. So we'll put our futurecast into motion now, and we'll see what we're dealing with over the next 24 hours. So cloudy skies at this time, and we hold on to that into the early morning hours. Now around 5 a.m. is when a spotty system is entering from the west close to Montreal, and we're dealing with snow pretty much early in the morning. You can see during the morning commute, Montreal is also looking at some snow, and that continues throughout the afternoon. It looks like by around 9 p.m. the majority of that system has pushed eastwards. Quebec City, however, still dealing with snow at that time. And then as we head into our Friday, we see the return of some clouds first thing in the morning, and we get a preview of the system that's going to be impacting Montreal with yet again more snow Friday afternoon. So tonight we are dealing with below seasonal temperatures, -4 feeling like -9, and we hold on to that feels like of -9 first thing in the morning, but our wake up temperature will be -2, flurries to start, light snow into the afternoon, and when everything is said and done, we are expecting to be above zero for a daytime high of 2 degrees, and once again we could see between 1 to 2 centimeters of snow. Long term, in our longer range forecast, we're calling for an additional 4 centimeters of snow on Friday. On Saturday, we'll see a seasonal high of 3 degrees with cloudy skies. For Parade Day, it looks like we'll see around 5 centimeters of snow to start the day with a daytime high of 1 degree. Then Monday through Wednesday, we're calling for a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 3 on Tuesday. And it looks like this time next week, we will dip below zero again with a high of -3.
A Montrealer has won what's known as the Nobel Prize of Computer Science. It is the A.M. Turing Award. Professor Gilles Brassard of the University of Montreal helped develop quantum communication. It's a technology that helps form the base of cybersecurity. He shares the $1 million prize with his research colleague, Charles H. Bennett.
60 years ago, there was no quantum computing, no quantum, nothing for computer science. There was quantum in physics. So there have been very many Nobel Prize in physics given to quantum theory. But come on, it's been decades. And it was becoming more and more obvious, at least to me, that quantum stuff was really important for computer science.
Brassard is the 8th Canadian to win the Turing Award. The evolution of artificial intelligence has shaken up a lot of industries, including the arts. Artists want to know how they'll be compensated when their work is used. Tyler Barrow has more on that.
Where arts meets artificial intelligence. This acrobat is having her movements followed by an infrared camera, creating a silhouette.
I think it's better to learn how to use these tools and experiment with it.
But as his theatrical company found use for AI, others in Banff for the National Artificial Intelligence Summit found reason for concern. Representatives from the music industry want proper compensation when their work is used on AI platforms, similar deals musicians and producers have with YouTube and Spotify.
We embrace innovation. It's really important, but we also need to make sure that songwriters are paid.
Many remain apprehensive when it comes to AI. The Indigenous Curatorial Collective organization recently took down work from a cloud system so AI sites couldn't capitalize on it.
We need to have our own data sovereignty and be able to put it in a secure space.
Copyright issues along with compensation are a few of the topics stakeholders are looking to address. The summit hosted by the Ministers of Canadian Identity and Culture and AI and Digital Innovation.
There's anxiety and opportunity.
Approximately 300 individuals from the tech sector, academia, arts, and other areas of culture are here to help ensure Canada shapes global conversation around responsible AI.
Listening to the culture community as we come up and design our legislation on privacy and trust, and as we design our AI strategy to build the economy of the future.
The summit comes a day after Canadian Will Arnett gave an impassioned speech regarding humans' roles in animation at the 98th Academy Awards.
We're celebrating people, not AI, because animation, it's more than a prompt, it's an art form and it needs to be protected.
Currently, Canada's AI sector employs 150,000 people, while another 800,000 work in digital industries. Those are the fastest growing areas in the country. Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Banff.
And coming up, it was a daylight meteor.
Whoa, what the was that? It was just like a boom, like that.
It was a flash of light and a sonic boom in the skies. And some advice on how to prevent accidental poisonings in the home.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news. Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Many household products can be harmful for children. Some advice now on how to prevent accidental poisonings. Here's Mandy Gator.
It can happen quickly. Accidental poisoning sent an estimated 67,000 U.S. children to the emergency room in 2023. It was also the cause of 90 child deaths.
They are naturally exploring and curious, which is a wonderful, amazing, and normal and appropriate thing for these children. But that means they might be curious and explore things that could be dangerous to them.
Dr. Manisha Agarwal with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says parents may not realize some potentially dangerous items are in their home. That includes some cosmetics and personal care products like eye drops are an exposure risk. Household cleaners, including laundry detergent, brightly colored pods can be attractive to young hands. Plants can be a problem. Many common indoor and outdoor ones can be toxic if ingested. Foreign bodies like button batteries found in things like toys can also lead to a medical emergency, and medications, both prescription and over-the-counter, including edibles.
They can be formulated in candies or cookies or chips or other snacks or gummies that children might want to consume.
To prevent poisoning, Agarwal says to make sure you store dangerous items up, away, and out of sight, ideally in a place that can be locked. All cleaners and other household fluids should be kept in a place that's child-proofed.
If you have medicines you're no longer using, get them out of your house. Dispose of them properly so your child can't find that leftover and take it by accident.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A fireball flashed in the sky over the eastern U.S. and Canada yesterday.
Whoa, what the was that? It was just like a boom, like that.
It was a meteor. It produced a streak of light and it triggered a sonic boom. NASA says the fireball was first spotted above Lake Erie. It's believed the meteor was part of an asteroid that also sent meteorites over Ohio.
Business News brought to you by Au Vieux de Louvre, where memories and meals come together.
The price of oil is rising again, with Iran targeting the energy infrastructure of neighboring countries. Morella Fernandez has more.
Iran struck a major natural gas facility today in Qatar, which spiked the price of oil again. The state-owned refinery took a hit and extensive damage is reported. This deepens the Middle East crisis, which most had hoped would end with a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. But if major outputs are crippled, recovery will take longer. The U.S. Federal Reserve Chair says it is too soon to know what the full effect of the conflict in Iran could be on the economy. It held its lending rate today between 3.5 and 3.75%. The central bank still forecasts one rate cut for 2026 and one for 2027. The rising cost of fuel could be positive for Couche-Tard. The Quebec-based company reported its net earnings were up 18% in its latest quarter, helped by acquisitions. Couche-Tard owns more than 17,000 convenience stores in 30 countries around the world, but most of its revenue comes from its gas stations. Here are the closing numbers for the day. Canadian dollar is down to 72.86. West Texas Intermediate is up over $2 to 98.44. Western Canadian Select is up to 77.85, and the TSX lost over 600 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Venezuela won the World Baseball Classic for the first time, and the victory was over the United States. Venezuela beat the U.S. 3-2 after a tie-breaking double in the top of the ninth inning. The game played out before a huge pro-Latin America crowd in Miami. And for the Venezuelan players, this was much more than just a game of baseball.
Nobody believes in Venezuela, but now we win the championship today. And it's a celebration for all the Venezuelan country. We're not just teammates, we are family. This team is awesome. We are family here. That's why we play with passion, with love, because we feel the jersey, we feel our country in front of us. That's why this is a lot for us as players, as a people, as a human beings, and as a Venezuela. Now we are the champion.
Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, declared today a national day of joy. As we reported earlier in the newscast, a judge has granted an injunction that will prevent 2 Quebec men from donating sperm. Now, Caroline, you'll have more on this story tonight.
That's right. We're going to speak with the lawyer for the woman who went to court to stop the men from fathering hundreds of children without the knowledge of women and those children. And we'll also talk about how this injunction is a first in Canada, and there could be more legislation in other provinces as well following it to prevent this in the future. And we will have more reaction to the budget as well, and what groups dealing with the victims of conjugal violence have to say about a little extra money that they'll be getting. Mitsumi?
Thanks very much, Caroline.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
Cole Caulfield has ended the drought. He's the first Habs player to hit 40 goals in a season since 1994. Here's Kelly Gregg.
Suki, wait, shoots, tip drop, score!
It's been a long time coming.
Caulfield, welcome to the 40 Club!
A couple guys out there with me that are making hell of a plays, so I just had to tap it in.
Cole Caulfield is the first player since Vincent D'Anfous to hit the 40-goal mark. Back then, the Habs were still playing at the old Forum.
D'Anfous scores! That's 40 for the first time.
I'm not surprised at all. He's so dangerous around the net. His shot is so precise and quick.
It's pretty special what he's doing this year, and he deserves it. He puts in a ton of hard work, and we're all benefiting from it.
Cole Caulfield, 40 goals on the season.
At TSN 690, Sean Campbell points out Caulfield has come close, hitting 37 last season. Now the goal is even more goals.
I think that now that he's attained 40, the question is what's next? Can he get 45? Can he get 50?
But the Canadians have a tough road ahead. Rounding out the month, they mostly play teams that are already in a playoff spot or deep into the wild card race.
Every game going forward is a playoff one.
Meaning each point will likely be harder to come by.
That means he has to score at a higher rate than he's scoring right now. So it's possible. He could definitely hit 50, but he has to go on a bit of a run.
Caulfield's 40th, which was also the overtime game winner, was set up by none other than Nick Suzuki.
It just makes so much sense. Nick Suzuki's having a career year again. He's up to 80 points on the year. You have 40 goals from Cole Caulfield. You think that for the next, decade, these two are going to be together?
Caulfield taking that bright future one game and one goal at a time.
What's after 40? 50?
The Habs are currently third in their division, and the focus now is staying in a playoff position. Because as long as it's been since the team had a 40-goal scorer, it's been an even longer wait for the cup. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
And you know, Lauren, during the commercial break, you made a very sad little effort to try to cheer up me and the director about there's more snow coming.
Yes,
Didn't work, though.
I was trying to, it's all in the delivery, you know, this is what we have in store for us tomorrow. Not nearly this much snow, but yes, we could see between 1 to 2 centimeters. Now I'm going to pull up the futurecast quite quickly here just to give you an idea of the timeline. It looks like as early as 5 a.m. we could see the snow, and according to this, it does look like it'll impact our morning commute. So before we deal with the snow, let's see what we're dealing with over the next 24 hours. So partly cloudy skies, an overnight low of -4, feeling like -9. We see -2 as a wake-up temperature, but it'll still feel like -9 in the morning. And we saw earlier that the snow will start fairly early in the morning. We could see between 1 and 2 centimeters, and we're looking at a daytime high of 2 degrees. So definitely warmer than it was today, and that is the good news there. Looking at our longer range forecast, though, we do see we have more snow on the way. Friday will bring 4 centimeters of snow. Sunday, that is parade day. It looks like we're starting the day off with 5 centimeters of snow. But we will be above 0 at 1 degree, and on Monday at least there will be some sunshine in store, so yay!
No, Friday's the first day of spring, do you believe it? Huh. And that's it for us. Have a good evening, stay well. Good night.